Welcome to Elementary. Today I have two topics that I would love to touch on. And the first one is really about times are changing and managing your budget is key. And what a great way to start off the year. The second topic I want to touch on is beating the winter blues. And we are in the heart of the coldest months to come, and it is so important that set. But let's talk about budgets and times are changing and what's important to you. So I deal with a lot of different clients, different stages of their life, and some of them are coming to me saying, hey, I want to buy a house. How do I get started? How do I start saving? And then I have the second set of clients who are at a different stage of their life that will come out and say to me, hey, hold on a second. I want to get as close to mortgage free as possible. And I'd love to downsize or I'd love to right size. And how do I do that? And well, there are a couple of things, while we guide them through that process. I want to talk today about creating that ideal lifestyle, right? I think people feel like you have to be struggling or you have to be, you can't afford to have, a decent life and everything else. It's one or the other and they have to make a choice. And you do have to make a choice if you want to have a quality of life. You do have to make a choice. It's without a doubt. However, what other choices are we talking about, right? Like, are we talking about, having a good life doesn't mean that you have to give up the finer things in life, so to speak. Having a good life doesn't mean that you have to actually scale back and deprive yourself of certain things, but everything in moderation, right, is what we talk about. Everything one step at a time, and you'll get there. So these days I've noticed, obviously we all are feeling the pinch, whether we're at the gas pumps, whether we're at the grocery store. There's climbing costs everywhere. But the good news is that you don't have to sacrifice your dreams and the things you love. You can still have them all. You just can have them all at the same time or overdose on them at the same time, so to speak. But I want to tell you this little story, right? The other day, I know people say life in Canada is so expensive. Last week we were away, we were on vacation, and while we were away, we pull into Starbucks for our coffee. And I noticed that my bill was almost $11. For one cappuccino and one Americano. And I just wanted an Americano with, nothing fancy, but the Americano and cappuccino are almost the same price. However, as we crossed the border and we came on the other side, I ordered the same order and it was $9.50. Now, understand there was no tax on it, but I was paying almost $11 American dollars, which is like 14 or 15. 14, I guess. And on this side of the border, so when people say, hey, our stuff is more expensive, I think it's all perspectives. I've noticed the last little while my vacations have been a little different because I've been noticing prices in the US have been a lot more than out here. But let's talk about like budgeting. And budgeting isn't about depriving yourself. It's about empowering you to make those choices and giving you the permission to prioritize what truly matters. Now, if you want to go on vacation, you'll find a way to go on vacation. And I don't mean by, going, taking it on a credit card or borrowing the money. What I'm saying is that you, like anything else, you have to really budget for where you live, budget for, how much you're going to spend on food, how much you're going to spend on eating out. And a lot of times I tell my clients, if you're looking to perhaps buy a house, or if you're looking to go on a vacation, then perhaps maybe you don't eat out as often. Maybe Uber Eats gets off your phone and you don't pay for that membership, which is, 10, 12, I don't know how much dollars a month. But that way you're not tempted to, pick up your phone and just dial Uber Eats for your meals, and that you actually maybe take a little time and, buy groceries and cook food instead. But those are some of the things you can do. Meal plan can help you cut down on food waste and your grocery bills. Switching to energy efficient appliances if, unplugging devices when you're not using it. Driving less, carpooling. Those are some of the ways you can look at saving, but also setting aside some money for vacations, travel, so that you do feel like we're not just put on this earth to work and pay bills. And that's not the message I want to send today. We are put on this earth to kind of live our best lives. And our best lives doesn't have to be by being consumeristic. I think sometimes we forget that when you don't have, when you're not fulfilled in one area of your life, you end up, just buying things to fill in the gaps. But a lot of times too, when people are looking for cheap, easy, fun things to do without spending money, there are so many things. Maybe in the winter, if you're not into winter sports and you're not into skating, maybe it's a little different. But if you are in a condo, and the condo has amenities, like, for example, they have like games rooms. And some of my younger clients have been kind of saying to them, take advantage of the games rooms. Not everyone does. And so if you book a window of time and your friends come over and you hang out and you play games, it becomes so much easier, right? But it's not always about spending money that will bring you happiness. It's about also just setting aside money, having a few bucks set aside so that you can afford a little bit of a vacation, so that you can afford to treat yourself or splurge or just, have those days, even if it's like a spa day or like instead of going out, maybe do a potluck with friends or, like I said, maybe coordinate something in your condo building where your friends can come and hang out. Either way, there are ways to save. If you want to do it, you can do it. And I've noticed that, so one of the things they say to use the 50-30-20 rule, which is 50% of your wages or should be put towards your needs, which is like housing, those costs, they're your needs. 30% towards your wants and 20% into saving or debt repayment. And so also taking advantage of tax refunds. So for example, understanding where you fall and how you can maximize your return by putting in, getting a bit more RSP. Now I got a whole different story on RSP. RSP is deferred taxes, and, people are assuming that you'll be making a lot lesser in your yonder years, and therefore, it would help. And it would help if, like I said, either way, those are some options for you. And whatever repayment you get, instead of just blowing it on something, have it put aside for a certain thing, whatever that certain thing is. At the end of the day, it comes down to following a budget and trying to figure out what else. And let's also say one last thing. Like if you are working a 9 to 5, and I know sometimes that's a lot. I have clients who are working like 2 jobs, and I sometimes tell them, let's look at what you're doing and how you're spending your money. And a lot of times I find that people actually, there are some of my clients who are very good with money management, and there are some that are not. They just don't keep a track, and they don't fall into, and they're not constantly reviewing what they're spending their money on, what they're using their money for. I mean, it's hard, right? Like sometimes when you just tap with a credit card, it becomes harder to understand how much we're truly spending. But if you actually just look at it from a week-to-week perspective and say, okay, if I'm just going to buy coffee, this is what I'm going to buy coffee on. Like, I don't even buy coffee on a daily basis. I actually make my own coffee at home. But that for me is, I found a coffee I really, really love, and I make my coffee, and that beats, having to go out and buy coffee. Now I still have to buy the beans and I still have to make it, but it's definitely cheaper than, than the coffee I was buying previously. So there are ways to deal with items and they become part and parcel. The other way to do it is to also be a little more prepared. If you meal plan and if you actually make lunches ahead of time, then you're not like stuck last minute thinking, oh, let me just grab something to go. Or maybe I'll just grab something at work, because that's when you tend to eat out and spend more money. So, there are ways to save for all the things you like. And there are ways to, like I said, not deprive yourself, but also, have things in moderation. And before we move on, I wanted to talk about winter blues. And I know this week is supposed to be a very cold week. And today was a cold day, and I believe tomorrow is going to get colder. And so more and more people seem to really feel the winter blues, and it is a thing. It is a thing. It's a feeling of sadness, low energy, and seasonal, what do they call it? Seasonal affective disorder or something to that. Anyways, it was funny because a year ago, or was it a year ago? Yes. My cousin was down and hanging out, and and when you're used to seeing sun all the time, every day you get up and you see sun, but he was in Toronto over Christmas, and one of the things he said, he woke up one morning and he's like, how do you do this? And I go, how do I do what? And he goes, how do you do this? You wake up every day and it's gloomy, it's cloudy. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I actually didn't even think about it. And now I'm like, geez, until you pointed it out to me, I actually didn't wake up and think, oh my goodness, yeah, some days are gloomier than others. And you think, oh, today is awfully gloomy. But I don't wake up every morning thinking, oh, geez, it's gloomy, let's go back to bed. But it's funny how when you're not used to it, you feel a bit down. And I don't know, is it because we've spent all this money over the holidays that the bills are coming in and it's cold and people are just getting miserable? But at the end of the day, though, you can only take care of yourself, right? Your mindset, your the way you boost your endorphins, whether it's a workout indoors or a walk indoors or a workout, or if you don't have the sun, then you have to find different ways to create that happiness or that those blues. And I think by us not being active and being getting up and just going for it, I think you tend to run the risk of falling into being a little down and out at this time, hibernating, not wanting to go out in the cold. I mean, I feel like that some days, although today I did go out to lunch with a friend, or a client, should I say. And I thought to myself, geez, what was I thinking? Why did I want to go out to lunch today? But, sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to make time in your calendar, and you have it in your calendar, and you just have to do it. The other thing that you can do from a mindset perspective, and more important during this time, is almost a gratitude practice, and writing down 3 things that you're thankful for each day, or even one thing. And I know it's hard for us to really kind of do that. And it doesn't have to be anything great. It can be just a call to a friend, or a really great conversation you had with someone, or even be thankful for your coffee or your tea or whatever it is you are. But it's just starting that morning or ending your day with something you are thankful for, or something you're grateful for, or something that happened to you. Even if it's something really, really small, it makes a big difference in your life. And, practicing gratitude takes a little bit of it takes a lot of practice, right? We're also used to what we don't have. We're also used to always complaining about everything around us that we think we don't have, that we forget to actually look at all the stuff around us that we have. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were, talking about how their family, they had a little bit of, the year before their mother died, and then the year after. And they were just kind of talking about what they've been through and how they just feel like finally they're feeling like this is the year for them. This is the year when things are going to lift and things are going to be better. And I took a step back for a minute, and I thought, my goodness, like, we have so much around us, like so much to be thankful for. For most of us, we have a roof over our heads, a warm bed to sleep in. We have food, we have work, businesses or whatever. And it doesn't matter how well you're doing or how it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you just look around, and I'm not asking you to look around to the people who don't want to work. That's a whole different game. That's a choice. But if I'm just saying, if you just look around and you just take a minute in and you just say, and you just feel gratitude for all the stuff you have in your life, or all the little positive things that happen to you, you'll realize there's so much more to be thankful for. And it is, as human beings, it is something that you have to work on, because we're so easily drawn to being negative about a topic. Like, if someone says something, you're right away drawn to, like, oh my goodness, like, what was in, like, why did they come up with this? And you're almost reactive, right? It's almost another thing to almost kind of do is change your ways from being reactive to proactive, or kind of minding, not even proactive, like just maybe putting a little check on how you respond to people. I know some of us, we get caught up in the moment, and you just want to respond the way the person is dealing with you. But who knows what sort of day that person's had. Maybe they just had a really miserable day. Maybe their day was so shitty. Maybe someone was so mean to them. Maybe they felt like their world was falling apart, and you happen to be the one they took it out on. And you don't have to take it, because you're nobody's doormat. But you also have to realize that perhaps you don't need to, you can't control their behaviors, but you can control your own and how you respond to the way they're behaving. So I know January and February tend to be like these really, really bluesy months where people get into a little bit of a fog and a little bit of, crankiness and who knows what else. But I wanted to have this little chat just to say, hey, we all go through it. Just find little things that can help you get up on the other side. Yeah, so I don't know. How are you guys feeling? Are you having a good year so far? And are you having good days, and are you struggling? Like, what are your what's going on in your world? Now, with regard to real estate, because I'm a realtor, and some people want me to talk about what's going on, and not all of you want to know what's going on in the market, because you really don't care, because you're not looking either to buy or sell. So some people are not always looking to see what's going on. But January, like at the end of the month, I think I have a mortgage person on the thing. So I think end of January 29th, we have another announcement, and hopefully those rates will drop again to help a few more people get ready to get on the market. But our market is crazy, and all I would say to people is, it's not a cookie cutter market. It's really a market that is going to suit your needs. So if you're someone who absolutely, like, if you're selling a smaller place to move into a bigger place, whether you sell a little low or you buy a little low, obviously you want to buy the more expensive thing lower. If you're looking to get into the condo market, there's deals to be had. Lots of deals, choices. But really, the key is to price it properly. The key is to price it and to understand what you're listing and to price it well. Now, there's a market for some, and not everyone will find that they have a market. And some of the new condos, people who own new condos, they're losing their shirt, right? So to speak, like quite frankly, they are losing their shirt and they're trying to hang on there. But there's also an influx of rentals that are on the market because of the new condos that have come on. And that's also causing the rental market to dip a little bit. But at the tail end of it, it really comes down to being strategic. I listed a condo. I mean, it sold pretty quickly, I must say, but it was a very good, the pricing strategy was good. There was a bit of a delay in my listing, but when we got it on the market, it was the start of January, and the market seemed to have been going in a little bit of a different direction. So the amount of showings I got were not as much as I would have anticipated, but the condo sold conditionally on the weekend, and so which is great news for my seller. And my seller, was open-minded, pivoted, was open to the suggestions, was open to all of the pricing that we talked about. But these are things that are like so important to understand, and not just I know sometimes me, I'm a little picky on not picky, but I have to be able to buy your mindset on price. Like if I cannot deliver, then I shouldn't take your listing, right? Like if I cannot deliver, like if you want more than what the place is valued at, and we all want more, because that's how we are. But let's say, the market is just bringing X amount and you want like 100,000 more, and that's not the market we're in, then, as a realtor, like we have to decide if we're going to take your listing. Because to start with, any listing, like for me, any listing that I take, I'm out of money before I even get started. So like, yeah, we take your listing because we want to sell your property, not because we just want to have a listing with our name on it. That's not the situation, but it is a different market. And all I'm saying is that if you decide you want to buy or to sell, you just need to be prepared with where this market is going and really kind of understand the numbers, really understand what your plan is, and also be truthful about what you plan to do, right? Like, what would happen if you didn't sell your property? What would happen if you got a price that was so much, or a price and anything? What's your bottom line? What is something that anything below that you cannot accept because you won't be able to buy another property, at least the property that you have in mind? Like you should have a full strategy. And sometimes I get people who are open when you start discussing what their goals are. And then sometimes you'll get people that don't want to share. And I'm not asking you about your goals because I need to know all this information. Heaven forbid, I just have too much information in my head sometimes. But it's good to know people's goals and where they want to end up, because if both of you are not on the same page, how are you going to get there? So all I feel is like, as your realtor, you should be like totally trusting that person. And you should, both of you should know that that person has your back no matter what. And as a realtor, you should feel the same way about the client you choose to work with as well. Because if you don't have trust, I don't think it's a good relationship. Because you're constantly thinking negative, right? And so when you have like all this negative in that space, nothing positive is happening. So a lot of times I find that people do not actually do enough to match a realtor to them and to their personality and to them specifically. Sometimes it's almost the last thing they do. Oh, I just have to go see this house. Let me just call this person. And I don't feel like that's the way you should go. And some other times I feel like some people think like you're a door opener or something. Like, no, you just don't call someone and say, hey, can you show me this place? And not expect the person to ask you questions, right? Because I had something happen the other day where someone called, they wanted to see a property, and then I started to ask them questions. I mean, this is a big ticket item property. Like this is not like it was a pretty expensive property, and I had to ask questions, and they were a little offended about me asking them, but it's my license, and if I'm taking you into a home, like, why do you need to go into a $3 million home if you don't have the money to buy it? And perhaps you have the money to buy it, but I can't mind read. I don't know who you are. And so all of those things come into play, but people don't understand when they call someone. They're like, oh, why are you asking me this questions about my money? And it's like, yeah, I have to ask you these questions because if you don't have the money, why am I showing you someone's house? Like, what's the need? This is not like a tour where I take you and see expensive houses. You have to be able to qualify what you wanted, your intentions. Anyways, so I don't know if you have any specific questions about the market, but we'll wait and see as to what happens at the end of January. And, my word for 2025 is abundance. And I know it's going to be that kind of year. And abundance is not just for me. It's about, in order to receive abundance, you have to actually give and be abundant yourself. And seeing that you have no questions, I will end the live, but I wanted to say thank you for joining me today. And I will see you next week. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacqueline Watson, and I'm a realtor with Sutton Group Tower in Toronto. So until next week, we'll see you then. Bye.